Let's get into these questions. So you are the author of Igloo, a
I
YA
am.
holiday novel. Yeah, yes, and you want to talk about another book as well that you've published,
Yes,
correct?
this came out on the 1st of November. This is my second young adult novel. So this is my baby.
Oh, wow. So could you give us a synopsis of Happiness Seeker?
Happiness Seeker, it's also young adult. It's set over 1 week sixth form trip. I don't know, that's 17-year-olds to a dangerous bay on the edge of the Lake District. And the main character, Ali, meets a mysterious stranger called Moreno with a dark, dark secret. And their meeting upturns everybody's lives on the trip. And there is tragedy before the weekends. Well, I have found an author brand that links the two together, but they are one's a happy romance and one is a dark tragedy. But there are things that link them in me, such as intensity and emotion and making people think a little differently.
Okay, absolutely. Very thought-provoking
That's
book.
my
Yeah.
aim. Yeah,
hmm
both of them.
hmm
Even Igloo, which is romantic and happy, it does have some philosophical themes in it as well about identity and being yourself when people around you want you to be someone different.
It's so important when you're young and just developing in yourself and coming into your own and finding yourself as you grow. That's
Yeah.
so imperative when you're a teenager.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, you've got to have the courage of your convictions, I
mm,
think.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I know you wanted to talk about uh, being published by a one-woman publishing press. What is
Yes.
that like? Take us through that process, please.
Well, what is it like? It's got huge advantages and some disadvantages. So I didn't find an agent for either book, but I did find this independent publisher called Beaten Track Publishing that's run literally by one woman. So she published Igloo first. I sent her a sample to her like you do with big agents and publishers, and she liked it and we worked on it and she published it a year ago. And then when the dust had settled on that, she had a look at Happiness Seeker and said she would publish that too. So we've had a very intense year getting that ready for publication, less than a year after Igloo came out. And she's publishing other people at the same time. She has other jobs, but she did it. And the huge advantages are that it's very personal. You know, if I email her, I get a reply quickly. We're good friends. We've met now. She came to the launch of Happiness Seeker. She's a great editor. So it's a very personal, small scale service, and it's very quick to turn around. You wouldn't get any other publisher who will say in January, I'll publish your book, and then it's out in November of the same year. It just wouldn't be possible. So huge advantages. The main disadvantage, there's no promotion, there's no marketing, there's no budget for that. So that's down to me. And I wouldn't say I'm very strong on it on social media. I have other outlets, like I go into schools with both books and do workshops. But that's the main disadvantage.
Mhm. And I saw that looking at your Instagram account, how you do go to different high schools and talk about your books. So you have found a way, aside from social media, to reach out to your core audience. And I think that's amazing because as important as social media is these days, to promote yourself, uh, reaching your audience directly like that, I think is very important as well. So what has your experience been just talking to teenagers in high schools? Have they been very receptive?
Yes, yeah. I mean, to some extent, they haven't a lot of choice. I mean, their librarian or English teacher has said, this published author is going to come in, but no, they are very receptive, and yeah, they engage really well with both books. And they work. We often do writing workshops, or they work at what's the word? At pitching their own story. So relating to mine, but a new story. So a new Igloo story in a different setting and genre, or a new story where somebody meets a mysterious stranger. But they do really engage. Yes,
Oh, that's
uh,
wonderful. Mm,
it is, because connecting with your readers is what every author wants.
mhm.
And to do that on TikTok is great, and it does happen. But to do it in person is even better.
Oh, I agree. I agree. That one-on-one,
Mm,
face-to-face communication is so important.
mm. And just talking about your books is what authors love. Like tomorrow,
Mm.
I've got a Christmas fair in my local town, and I'll be there all day with the local bookshop. And I just love to talk about both books and have some great conversations.
Oh, wonderful. Just taking things back a little bit, what inspired you to become an author?
Well, I got to a point when my children were grown up, and I was established as an English teacher, where I get stories that insisted on being told in my head, short stories to start with. And it just got more and more insistent until you knew that you wanted to tell these stories. So I started to learn my craft through short stories to start with. And then I did an MA in creative writing for writing a novel. So I suppose I started learning my craft in order to tell these stories as well as I possibly could. And you need to have real determination and obsession to stick with a novel, because it's
Mhm.
taken me years to write each of them. It's not a quick process for me. So you've got to be very committed to the worthiness of that story and to getting it told as well as you possibly can. But it's a story that insists and won't let you go, and you have to tell it to its best version of itself, is my experience.
Yes. Yeah, and that's interesting too when you say it doesn't take, it's not overnight. It takes a while to craft that story and give it the attention it deserves. And it also leads me into my next question about what some of the challenges are that you've faced as an author.
Um, well, like I say, it's not come easily to me, but I don't think that's a problem. I had this amazing quotation the other day from Thomas Mann saying writers are people for whom writing is more difficult than for other people. And I think grappling with a story is what makes it better. But also the subbing process, submitting to agents and publishers and being rejected, it's very tough. Not getting an agent is tough. Not getting a major publisher is tough. But I've found a route through it, I suppose, and I feel that I've found a good place for my books. But it is hard with a small publisher to be noticed alongside the rest of the world shouting about their books.
Mm,
I suppose those are the challenges of being with
mhm.
a small publisher again.
Just trying to rise above the noise and get
Yeah,
noticed while also knowing that there are so many other authors trying to get some attention to their book as well.
with big marketing teams behind them.
Oh, yes.
And
Mhm.
you have to keep your belief in your book that it's as good as books with major publishers, just
Mhm.
not as well known yet, and really keep the faith with it.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah. Your book deserves just as much of a platform as any other book. So I am so happy that you have, continued and not given up. And I think that's so important for authors to know to not give up. Your
You're
words have
absolutely right.
value.
Yeah.
Mm,
Is that I think the point at which you could give up, which happened to me with Happiness Seeker this year, at that point, that's the very point to keep going. But I did nearly give up on it. In April, I had some bad feedback from a beta reader. This is a book I'd spent years on, and I thought I can't do
mm,
anymore. But I picked myself up a few weeks later, and I worked with this beta reader, and it's now got incredible reviews. So I'm so glad that I didn't give up on something that's turned out to be a success. But it is a process of being really resolute and persistent, I think.
And it was also important, I think, what you just said as well, is taking a few weeks, just taking a step back, not giving up entirely, but just giving yourself that minute to take a breath, and work with that person. I'm so glad you're able to work with that beta reader and just
Yeah.
come through on the other side.
Yes,
Mhm.
I owe her a lot. She's
Ah,
she's the lady who gave me the cover quote, um, which is a powerful story of love and hope in the face of darkest danger. And so this was my beta reader who then gave me the cover quote, and I owe a lot to her. If she ever
wow.
hears this interview, she's a great writer herself of children's novels. So
I sure hope she does see this.
yes, I hope so too.
Yeah.
I'll tell her about it. Yeah.
Mhm. Great. Okay, let's move on to another question. Let's see. I think this is something that I'm curious about because writers, for the most part, unless you're very, very lucky, you are at the poverty line or below. How do you balance your writing career with other responsibilities in life?
Well, I think I'm very fortunate in that I'm in my late 50s and I retired early from teaching. And it's only since I've retired that I've been able to focus on my writing. So I have family commitments. I have an elderly father and grandsons and a lot of family commitments, but I don't have other work commitments. So I do have time to commit to writing, but it's still a sacrifice. I do miss out on times with my husband. He's actually been in Spain for a month without me because I was here promoting Happiness Seeker, and I've missed on days out because I was editing Happiness Seeker, and it takes its toll. He doesn't wholly see the worthiness of writing a novel. So even in my position where I haven't got a job or children at home, it still takes sacrifice, I think.
Mhm.
And it's a balance, and it's doing something every day. It's writing every day or promoting every day, and being busy with it, I think.
Wow. Yeah, it's it's very true that that sacrifice that you have to make for your craft.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I know people make bigger sacrifices. People with small children, they get up at the crack of dawn, don't they? And or work late into
Mhm.
the night. I know people do make huge sacrifices to write. But an agent once said to us at a panel event, nobody's making you do this. It's a choice. You've chosen to write, so don't complain about it.
Well, well, it's you got to get the words out though, like you said. It's just it's a calling.
It's a calling. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. Or you wouldn't do it, would you? You'd give
No.
up long before. Are you a writer yourself, Rachel?
A little bit. I've just started this month, so it's starting to see the sacrifices you have to make.
Yeah.
It's daunting, but it's something that has to come out. And I've been holding it in for a while, so it's nice to finally let it out.
Good for you. I wish you
Thank
lots of luck
you.
with it.
Thanks. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Here's something good. Here, what advice would you give to aspiring authors?
I think possibly we've covered that by inference. I think to learn your craft, and then and not that it's a finite journey. You're always learning more, as you'll realize. It's an infinite learning curve, but to learn as much as you can about your craft via whatever means that is, by courses, or there's some great books on writing, but it's not to just plunge in and hope for the best, and to plan it. I'm a huge believer in story structure. I've spent years learning the way of structuring a story that works for me, following Into the Woods by John York. And I think it's really important to follow a story structure. So learn your craft, learn your story structure,
Mhm. That's
enjoy
great
it.
advice.
Yeah, and enjoy the editing process, I think, because it's going to need a lot of editing and you've got to enjoy it.
Mhm. Yes, I've heard that a lot from authors as well. I've been asking a couple, how many drafts do you usually come up with? And one said, I'm on my ninth or 10th draft of this story. So patience and learning your craft, I think, are yeah, imperative.
Yes,
Yes. Mm,
yeah, I think so.
mhm. Well, I was going to ask what your next project is, but it sounds like your book that's your baby, and that is your next project that you are promoting right now. So when does that come out? Or is
The
it's
happiness,
already out?
yes, it came out on the 1st of November, but there are things going on relating to it, possibly writing a pilot screenplay episode. That's a
Oh,
possibility, which I'm really excited about. I've got a screenplay writer who's going to advise me on how to write a pilot episode, and an actress who's ready to play the main character. So it might happen, it's possible. And also people have talked about a prequel and a sequel to it. So working around Happiness Seeker, I think. I'm hoping.
that is so exciting. And congratulations, Jennifer. Oh my gosh. You
Well,
must
it's
be
not
so
happening yet,
thrilled.
but I'm hoping and working towards it.
What an exciting time as you go into the holiday season. Oh,
It is, yeah.
is there anything else that you would like to talk about before we go?
I think I don't know if this fits here or not. I just wanted to say with Happiness Seeker that I had quite a lot of input in various aspects of the novel from two anti-slavery charities, Unseen and Hope for Justice. So there's a dark secret at the core of the novel
Mm,
about one of the main characters. And that's been one of the most worthwhile aspects of writing the novel, that these two charities have got involved and advised me with the authenticity of the plot. So I am giving away a little bit more about the plot, but I think that's what makes it a particularly important book. And I hope it's going to become recognised as an important book, partly because of the issue at the heart of it.
mm.
Um, so that's been really exciting to work with them.
Yes, that sounds it's sounds like a very important subject to write about, and getting that authenticity from those organizations is so important for to elevate voices who don't have a platform necessarily. So
Yes,
that's mm,
that's been probably the most significant thing I've ever done as a writer, I think. So I'm hoping that it does do some good by raising this problem.
mm, yes, absolutely. I hope so too.